The echo effect, why Bruce Lee still shapes how we move. Most of us think movement is physical, something the body does, something trained through repetition and discipline. But the way you understand strength, the way flexibility became power, the way self-expression entered physical practice, that didn't come from a gym. It came from one man asking a different kind of question. What if form wasn't the answer? This is the echo effect, how ideas from the past still shape our lives today. And today, that echo belongs to a defining cultural figure of the late 20th century, Bruce Lee. Before Bruce Lee, martial arts were rigid, styles were closed systems, techniques were inherited, not questioned, forms were memorized, rules were respected. Strength meant hardness, power meant force, authority meant tradition. Training emphasized obedience over adaptation, lineage over experimentation, loyalty over curiosity. Movement was something you followed, not something you discovered. But there were cracks in the system. Figures like Jean Lebel were already testing boundaries. Early Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners were proving leverage could defeat brute force. But these ideas lived on the margins. They were local, isolated, often dismissed. What Bruce Lee did wasn't invent rebellion, he gave it a global voice. He didn't reject discipline, he rejected limitation. He trained relentlessly, obsessively, but he questioned everything. He studied boxing, fencing, Wing Chun, Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, not to collect styles, but to understand movement itself. He asked a radical question. Why cling to form when the opponent doesn't? Why train for perfection instead of reality? Why preserve tradition if it no longer serves function? For Bruce Lee, truth lived in usefulness, not tradition, not ceremony, not titles. What mattered was what worked. Bruce Lee didn't just practice martial arts, he created Jeet Kune Do, not as another style to memorize, but as a response to rigid tradition. It wasn't a new martial art, it was a refusal to be boxed in, a refusal to copy, a refusal to stop evolving. He believed real combat didn't follow forms, so training shouldn't either. Jeet Kune Do was built on one idea: use what works, discard what doesn't, adapt to what is. This wasn't just physical philosophy, it was a mindset. That idea quietly escaped martial arts and entered culture. Bruce Lee changed what strength looked like. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the heaviest, but he was fast, precise, efficient. He showed that power could be relaxed, that speed could defeat size, that timing could outperform aggression. He demonstrated that tension wastes energy and awareness multiplies it. This redefinition reshaped modern martial arts, athletic training, and functional fitness. Strength stopped being about dominance. It became about control, about economy, about intelligence. Bruce Lee treated the body like a thinking system: balance, timing, feedback. He trained explosiveness and softness together, stillness and motion, mind and body. This wasn't accidental, it was philosophical. The famous phrase, "be water," wasn't a slogan, it was a translation. Lee refined it from Taoist philosophy, from Lao Tzu, from the idea that the strongest force in nature is the one that adapts. Bruce Lee wasn't just a fighter, he was a philosopher-translator, taking ancient ideas and expressing them through motion. This philosophy now underpins mixed martial arts, movement culture, parkour and mobility training, among others. The body wasn't a tool anymore, it was a conversation. On screen, Bruce Lee shattered expectations. He wasn't submissive, he wasn't comic relief, he wasn't ornamental, he was precise, centered, unapologetically himself. His movement carried meaning. His stillness carried authority. He didn't just change cinema, he changed how Asian identity was perceived globally. Confidence didn't need volume. Power didn't need excess. Movement became language, silence became presence. His philosophy extended beyond fighting. It entered creativity, leadership, self-development. Be water, not rigid, not shapeless, but responsive. This idea resonates today because modern life demands adaptation. Careers shift, identities evolve, certainty dissolves, flexibility isn't weakness, it's survival. Bruce Lee didn't just change martial arts, he changed how we understand movement itself. He challenged the idea that motion was something prescribed, a sequence to memorize, a shape to imitate, a rule to obey. Instead, he reframed movement as response, as awareness, as intelligence in action. He showed that how you move reflects how you think, how you adapt, how you meet resistance, not only in combat, but in life. And in doing so, he reshaped confidence itself, not as bravado, not as dominance, but as quiet certainty, rooted in control, grounded in presence, earned through understanding. That flow beats force, that timing beats tension, that efficiency beats excess. His philosophy reshaped combat sports, but it didn't stop there. It entered training rooms, where athletes began prioritizing mobility over rigidity, function over appearance, feel over form. It extended into how people treated their bodies. Bruce Lee questioned nutrition the same way he questioned movement, not through dogma, but through experimentation. He believed the body was shaped not only by how it trained, but by what it absorbed. Food became fuel, recovery became strategy, health became part of performance, not an afterthought. It entered physical culture, where stretching became dynamic, where balance mattered as much as strength, where recovery and softness were no longer signs of weakness. And it entered everyday life, in how people walk, run, sit, breathe, in how they carry themselves, how they take up space without aggression, how calm replaces hesitation, and in the lives he never met. Bruce Lee inspired people not by promising shortcuts, but by demanding awareness. He showed that self-mastery was available to anyone willing to question, to refine, to adapt. Bruce Lee taught that movement was not just mechanical, it was expressive, personal, contextual. That adaptability beats rigidity, that listening beats imposing, that responsiveness beats control. He reminded us that tradition has value, but only when it serves reality, only when it remains alive, that truth beats tradition. He is often called the father of mixed martial arts, not because he competed in it, but because he was the first to openly advocate for cross-disciplinary training when styles insisted on separation. His legacy isn't locked in techniques, it lives in mindset. Every time training prioritizes function over form, every time strength looks calm instead of loud, every time someone chooses adaptability over certainty. That isn't coincidence, that is Bruce Lee, that is the echo effect, where the present is quietly shaped by the past. If this story resonated with you, please follow, because some ideas don't stand still, they adapt.